What's up, gearheads and keyboard warriors? Welcome back to Friends with Benefits Car Club. I'm Io, and today we've got another spicy mix of car news served with a side of sarcasm. Slate is building an EV pickup in Alabama because apparently the future runs on sweet tea and southern charm. Volkswagen had to recall the ID.Buzz because the third row seats were too wide. Yup, we're body shaming the minivans now. And McLaren just hired a new CEO, hopefully someone who understands that cup holders matter too. All that, plus more wild stories from the car world you didn't know you needed. Let's get into it. Slate, the startup you've probably never heard of unless you're on AV Twitter or sleep with a Rivian brochure under your pillow, just announced it's building an electric pickup truck. And guess where? Not Austin, not Detroit, nope, Alabama. Because when you think tech hub of the future, your mind immediately jumps to SEC football and Waffle House. But in all seriousness, this is kind of a power move. Labor is cheaper, land is cheaper, and the BBQ is better. Plus, Hyundai, Mercedes, and even Honda all have factories in the area, so it's not totally out of left field. Slate's betting big that Americans will want another electric truck because clearly we don't already have enough. Cybertruck, Rivian R1T, Ford Lightning, Silverado, IV, welcome to the battle royale of electric brodozers. Slate says they'll focus on utility and style for the truck. Translation, we'll give it a light bar and call it a day. Let's just hope the factory finishes before the next EV bubble pops like a lucid stock price. VW had to recall the ID.Buzz, their quirky electric van that screams, I'm saving the planet, but also I surf. The problem? The third row seats are too wide. That's right, Volkswagen accidentally invented the first plus-size minivan interior. Turns out, the seats are so wide they block the seatbelt buckles in the third row. So if you're sitting back there and hoping to live through a crash, well, you might want to say your goodbyes before you buckle up your imaginary belt. It's not a huge recall, only 300 plus vehicles in Europe, but come on, how do you overbuild a seat? Was the design team like, hey, let's make sure this bench can comfortably seat 3 NFL linebackers with space for snacks? Look, we love the buzz, but it seems like VW forgot the first rule of safety. If your seats look like they belong in a Vegas lounge, maybe double check the hardware. A sleek, angular electric sports car just dropped in China, and the internet's losing its mind. Why? Because this mystery machine looks like someone took a Lamborghini, let it marinate in carbon fiber, sprinkled in some Pagani drama, and said, let's make it electric. We don't know the brand. We don't know the specs. All we've got is a teaser video that basically screams, we couldn't afford a McLaren, so we made our own. To be fair, China's been stepping up big in the EV game. NIO, XPeng, BYD, Zeekr, and now, possibly Lamborghini. We're trademarking that if no one else does. Whether this turns out to be a 1,000 horsepower super coupe or just another vaporware prototype with LED strips and broken promises, we'll give it this. It looks fast enough to outrun your crippling student debts. McLaren, the brand known for cars that look like they were designed by a caffeinated alien with a passion for speed, just named a new CEO, Michael Leiters. If that name sounds familiar, it should. He's been the brains behind tech and product development at Ferrari and Porsche, which is basically like saying your new coach used to win the Champions League for fun. Now, don't get it twisted. This is not just some suit with a British accent and an MBA. Leaders helped launch some pretty legendary rides, like the Ferrari Purosangue, which somehow made a 4-door Ferrari SUV seem cool. And while at Porsche, he played a key role in the Cayenne, which, despite being hated by purists, now pays most of the brand's bills. So the guy knows what he's doing. But McLaren? Oh boy. This isn't just a steer the ship job. This is try to stop the yacht from sinking while it's also on fire, and someone's DJing dubstep in the background. Financially, McLaren's been limping along. They had to mortgage their HQ. They sold off their F1 team stakes. Their first plug-in hybrid, the Artura, had more delays than a Spirit Airlines flight. Leader's mission? Save the brand without killing the vibe? That means balancing innovation with profitability. McLaren needs new models, electrification, a possible actual SUV, sacrilege, I know, and a way to stop burning money like it's race fuel. The big question is, can McLaren still be McLaren if it's profitable? Or will Leiters have to throw tradition in the trunk and drive straight into the future? Either way, he's got the keys and about £500 million worth of debt riding shotgun. You know, things are rough when a German automaker, possibly Mercedes-Benz or Audi, is considering pulling their EVs from China entirely. That's like saying, you know what, we're good not selling ice in the desert anymore. China is the largest EV market in the world, hands down. Last year, over 60% of the world's EVs were sold there, and local brands like BYD, NIO, XPeng, Zeekr, and even upstarts like Avatar are basically handing out sleek, high-tech EVs, like candy at Halloween, but cheaper and with a much better UI. Meanwhile, German brands are walking into the market like it's 2018. Behold, our luxurious EV sedan, now only $79,999, and featuring a voice assistant that doesn't understand Mandarin. Yeah, that's not gonna cut it, and it's not just price. Chinese automakers are innovating way faster. They're throwing out updates like it's TikTok, new features every few months, better range, better tech, and styling that actually connects with younger buyers. Whereas German automakers are still deciding if a touchscreen should have physical buttons. Spoiler, Chinese EVs moved on 3 versions ago. So the rumors are flying that a major German brand is saying, you know what? Let's focus on Europe and North America. China's EV war is not worth dying in. It's not a retreat, it's a tactical ghosting. And honestly, who can blame them? Competing in the China right now is like showing up to an F1 race in a tricycle and wondering why you're not getting podium finishes. In a celebration no one expected, but we're kinda impressed by, BMW just assembled its 7 millionth vehicle in the United States. That's right, y'all. In between sweet tea and boiled peanuts, Spartanburg, South Carolina has quietly become one of BMW's most productive factories worldwide. This isn't a small side hustle either. This plant churns out X-model SUVs like the X3, X5, X6, and the Alpina tuned luxury freight train known as the XB7. And to commemorate the milestone, they put out a special edition Alpina XB7 in Austin yellow, which looks like the highlighter you use to mark which cars not to buy on Craigslist. What makes this story hilarious is BMW using this moment to flex how American they are, which is rich coming from a brand that still charges you a subscription to use your heated seats. To be fair, Spartanburg is legit. It's one of the largest vehicle exporters in the US, and it's proof that yes, we can build high-performance German SUVs in a state where some people still call seat belts optional. Also, shout out to BMW for giving us Alpina here, because nothing says I have taste and also 3 kids like a twin-turbo Alpina SUV with 630 horsepower. Congrats, BMW. Now, if we could just shrink the grille back down to earth, we'll consider forgiving your fake engine sounds. For our last story, Mazda finally woke up and said, hey, should we be doing EVs too? Their newly announced EV strategy is here, and while it's not quite revolutionary, it's at least not embarrassing, which is a huge step up from their first attempt, the MX-30, a car with the range of a distracted toddler and suicide doors no one asked for. The new plan includes multiple EV-dedicated platforms, rotary engine range extenders, and a production roadmap leading up to 2030. So basically, they're working on it, but they're doing it at Mazda speed. You know, the company that took 6 years to give the Miata Apple CarPlay. One bright spot, they're actually bringing back the rotary engine, not as the main powertrain, but as a generator to charge the battery. Because nothing says Mazda like using an engineering relic to power your modern EV dreams. They also mentioned driver-focused EVs, which gives us hope that maybe, just maybe, the first electric car that's actually fun to drive might not come from Tesla, Porsche, or Hyundai, but from the guys who made the RX-7 and taught millennials how to rev match. But let's be real, they have a lot to prove. Mazda isn't a cash-rich giant. They can't afford to throw billions at battery development. Their survival depends on making a fun, affordable EV that feels like a Mazda and doesn't take 6 business years to charge. If they can nail it, we'll all be saying zoom zoom again, but this time without the engine noise. And that's a wrap on this week's wild ride through the car world, where CEOs change seats, German brands ghost China, BMW throws a party in the South Carolina, and Mazda shows up late to the EV race like it just remembered what decade it is. If you enjoyed the video, hit that like button. If you didn't, hit dislike. We're not fragile. Drop a comment below. Which story had you shaking your head, laughing, or yelling at your screen? Seriously, thank you for watching to the end. It means the world to us. Whether you're here for the laughs, the news, or just vibing, you're officially part of the Friends with Benefits Car Club family. We'll be back next week with more stories, more shade, and more questionable decisions from the auto industry. Until then, keep dreaming, keep driving, and remember, if the car you're driving doesn't make you feel like a superhero, you're driving the wrong one. Friends with Benefits, Car Club, driving off,